Police responded to a shoplifting call at Marshall. Officers responded to Walmart regarding a theft in progress.
There's a new breed of homo sapien females emerging, and it's laying waste to the land of the free, the Karen.
Oh, really? I'm gonna take you down for that now!
While Karens are known to be a pain in the buttocks any given day of the week,
I'm the sword of your gun.
wait till you meet one of them thieving. Here's a list of the dumbest Karen thieves of all time. Number 1. An enduring battle. Looks can be deceiving, a woman with polished looks, shoplifting. Who would have ever thought? Shoplifting is one thing, but throwing a hissy fit after getting caught is another.
Start kicking.
He hurt me in the parking
You
lot.
shoplifted.
This lady was caught shoplifting and was restrained by a worker who then had a hard time trying to stop the woman from running away. A criminal caught in the act would know it would be hopeless to fight off a man double her size, but not if it's a Karen. The man tried to restrain the woman calmly, as if he was dealing with a cranky toddler, but the woman didn't make the job easy for him. She knew that if the cops arrived, she was done.
Go ahead.
I will let someone else.
So she tried every mean trick under the sun to get away. She was a ticking time device, and she certainly went off with a boom. Now getting violent only makes a bad situation worse. And boy, the situation went nuclear. After getting kicked around a bit, the guy's saintly patience ran out, and he decided to deal with this woman like a man, though gently. He finally tackled her to the ground. Frustrated yelling never got anyone anything, but that doesn't mean Karens won't try it. All this ruckus finally ended one way. She got cuffed by the cops who led her to jail. That sigh of relief can be heard all the way to the moon. Number 2. Buzzed by the buzzers. Trying out clothes in a fitting room in a store is pretty normal, but that's not the case here.
You need to leave right now, otherwise I'll take you to jail today.
This woman started trying out clothes on the department floor instead of the changing rooms. When asked to leave, she put up quite a fight with the hapless employees, and the store manager called the cops on her.
When you went through the security checkpoint, your bag went off, okay?
Now that would put a dent in any person's style, but not this lady. Mall cops don't get the same respect as a regular cop, certainly not by Karens like her. Not too long after this woman exited one store, she was stopped in another store to be checked by the authorities. This time, things got messy as once again, she refused to cooperate with the cops. Big mistake, because these weren't mall cops. The boot was definitely on the other foot, as she got the full package of the special treatment cops keep aside for such troublemakers. But what did they find as they started searching her? All that yelling and defiance was just a facade to get the attention away from the goods she was pushing down her non-existent clothing. This was one shop lifting Karen, who believes in swimming against the flow. After trying every dirty trick in the book, she ended up getting trussed up like a turkey by 2 officers after getting tackled down and handcuffed. Dealing with shoplifters is awful, but dealing with shoplifting Karens? A complete nightmare. Number 3. Entitled shoplifter. A Karen's stubbornness has no limits. Caught red-handed in the act on camera and putting up a fight to justify your actions might be one of the dumbest things a person can do, and this lady was dumber than most.
Walk this way. You'll get this in a second. Walk this way.
This woman was caught shoplifting, but like any good shoplifter, she refused to accept the consequences. Instead, she kept lying through her teeth, believing it would save her hide. When an officer was called in, she put up quite an attitude, like she was the Queen of Sheba instead of a stinking liar. In the end, she tried to justify her actions, saying she didn't have a criminal record.
Let it go.
Her refusal to calmly cooperate with the officer wasn't received well at all, and the fed-up officer escorted her to the security room. That should have been it, but this Karen had more of her special kind of love to spread, so she got up to leave. There was only one way this was going to end, which is exactly what happened. Not wanting to deal with more from her, the officer used force to handcuff her, the woman swearing colorfully the whole time. Handcuffed, but not beaten into compliance, she decided to show the officers what she was made of and struggled all the way to the police cruiser. Like they say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Number 4. Foolish fail. Even shoplifting Karens have standards, so shoplifting without checking the price tag? Impulsive move indeed.
Fucking with you. You guys have a receipt for this?
This 24-year-old, along with another woman, had big plans as they decided the best brand to target. But this was definitely not their day, as all of their best-laid plans went south. Why wouldn't they, since their plans had overlooked the mechanical eye of the cameras all over the store, aided by a battalion of security personnel employed with the task of catching just such thieving Karens. The guilty duo were cuffed, and both the women were escorted to the first milestone of their journey, getting to the police car. The realization that their gig was up hit them at this point, kick-starting their struggles. All the twisting, turning, and pleading wasn't getting them out of paying the piper. But this lady gets full marks for trying till the end, and continues to struggle, even through getting booked.
Take it! Like, why?
Rule number 1 of getting arrested decorum demands that the culprit give up and accept their fate. But acceptance is one word missing from this lady's vocabulary. The police finally forced her by the arms and ultimately got the picture they wanted. That's what you get for not complying with the police, a forceful arrest. Number 5. Small but significant mistakes. Self-help checkouts have become all the rage in big stores nowadays, and while most upstanding citizens pay their dues like good guys, some thieving Karens and no-do-gooders can't resist showing their nuisance value.
Stand up, I need you to stand up.
Like this woman who was caught pretending to pay at the self-checkout lane and was stopped by authorities before she could leave. The scene of the crime was Walmart, and this lady had made an error in judgment, which was going to cost her dearly. This case differs from the usual Karen cases, whereby their favorite defense appears to be stubborn refusal to cooperate.
Could I have a cigarette?
It seems like this was the lady's first rodeo, and overtaken by shame at getting caught, she curled up on herself, regret haunting her. As she was being escorted out, panic set in, and she could feel the walls closing in on her, and it got harder for her to breathe. Cops are reasonable guys, and they let the woman out of the vehicle for some fresh air. It's here that she pulled a Karen move by taking off running in a desperate bid to escape. But this chase proved to be a short one, and she was escorted back to the vehicle and getting treated exactly like the criminal she actually was. Number 6. Tantrums and denial. Deny. A classic Karen move. Concealing items is an act of theft, and getting caught makes the theft clear, but does it? This woman was caught trying to conceal items and make a run for it before getting caught, but seems like it's just not her day. Cops don't have to rely on any witnesses nowadays, as their best witness is the cameras recording people's every move.
Don't
resist.
Dude, you're not gonna do shit.
This woman's shenanigans were recorded by the mechanical eye. This woman couldn't do anything to get out of it, and she knew it. She knew she was going to only one place after such irrefutable evidence, which was jail, but she wasn't going to make it easy on anyone. The woman refused to acknowledge committing any crime, and to add insult to injury, she started throwing a hissy fit like a toddler. Bawling her eyes out and screaming her innocence, she was escorted to her destination by determined cops. She might have thought she could get out of the trouble by being trouble, but oh boy. The law doesn't work like that, and at the end of the day, every criminal gets what they deserve, getting the law book thrown at them. Number 7. Shoplifting cult. Ever heard of a shoplifting cult of 3? Now you will. This thieving group was a family-run business which consisted of a mom and her 2 daughters. The trio was caught trying to slither its way out of the store with stolen goods, but an employee caught them in the act. Now, handling one thief at a time is hard enough, but handling three can be impossible. But what happened next proves that there is no honor among thieves, even if they're related to each other.
Everybody's right now under arrest for shoplifting, okay?
Take a look at this mom sprinting as soon as she spotted the cops. Instead of protecting her daughters like a mother hen, she ran off, leaving her chicks behind to face the music. Of course, this was going to end only one way, with the mom handcuffed. Up next were her two 19-year-old daughters, who were questioned and searched. The thieving triad was arrested for shoplifting as they begged for forgiveness and even promised to pay for what they had stolen if they were let go of. But boo-hoo. That's not how the world works, and lessons were to be learnt. Number 8. Guilty gangsters. It seems thieving in threes is all the rage nowadays, which is why we have another entry with 3. This group of 3 had decided to stick to the saying, "Shop till you drop," with gusto, filling their carts up to the brim with only one caveat: they had no plans to pay for any of it. They tried their best to sneak past the checkout line with their wallets and money wad intact, but they didn't succeed in their dastardly plan. So again, the cops were called in because only they know how to handle a bunch of Karens. As the cops showed up, Karens acted like, "What's going on? Why are we being ganged up on?" But these cops had seen it all to be taken in by such acts. That didn't stop Karen 1 from acting annoyed and innocent and claiming that she had a receipt, proving she had paid for all her stuff. But the cops weren't falling for that either. Busted. None of their stories checked out, and an arrest was conducted immediately, with the thieves not getting a chance to try any funny stuff. Number 9. Lego thief. Are Legos worth stealing and getting into trouble with the law? Apparently for this woman they are. Although this lady had been quite unsuccessful in her little robbery, she still got to pay for her aborted attempt. On January 10th, 2023 in Florida, a woman had been reported by Target Loss Prevention Associates trying to leave the store with 7 boxes of unpaid for Legos. When she was confronted for not paying at the exit, she abandoned the Legos worth $1,147.32 and ran away, fleeing in a red SUV with a broken right window. A car matching that description was spotted by deputies a short time later. The driver was asked about the Legos, but she firmly refused any knowledge of the incident. She was told to step out of her vehicle, and the car was searched. A receipt matching the exact date and time was found inside, proving her lie. She was taken into custody and ultimately paid with her dignity. Number 10. Checkout scam. Who knew that self-checkout counters could be such a ripe hunting ground for thieving Karens? This gang of thieves had thought they had hit the jackpot as they started scanning their items at the checkout counter. They thought they were the queens of Counterville, since they only scanned half their items and loaded the rest to take home. Maybe they thought they would receive red carpet treatment for using this store as their personal domain. They did get the royal treatment, only by the cops. As the 3 women scanned only a few of their items and continued to bag the rest without scanning, a suspicious employee approached them. The employee offered to escort them to a manned checkout lane, but the gang of 3 refused point blank and continued on their way. Pretending like nothing had happened when you've literally been caught with your hand in the cookie jar takes a certain type of moxie, and these ladies were full of it. But they had met their match in the store employees on that day, and their little shoplifting mission was doomed to fail. The only thing left was to flee the scene of their doom. But this was a day of disappointments for them as they were arrested by the cops who had arrived to deal with them. Number 11. Mr. No-Nonsense. It takes a special kind of screwed-up person to steal from a Goodwill store, and this lady is it. The cops responded to a call from employees at a Goodwill store who had confronted this lady, but instead of feeling shame for her actions, she started arguing with them and became aggressive. To beat a bully, you need a bigger bully, and this lady got her just desserts. Instead of a soft-hearted officer who would put up with her irrational antics, she got a hard-nosed, no-nonsense cop who takes crap from nobody. But since she didn't know that, she tried to play tough cookie. Oh boy. The fireworks that followed were all her own fault, as she got treated the way criminals resisting arrest get treated. She struggled as much as she could, but there was no way she was going to beat this mountain of a man, and the man was extremely annoyed with a low life who would steal from a thrift store. The gall of this lady got paid back with shovelfuls of just desserts, as she was read the law, handcuffed with extreme prejudice, and placed in the police cruiser. The cops got on with their job, collected all evidence and statements from the store employees, including the loss recovery employees, who had all the proof required. Number 12, Sly Pickpocket. Some Karens operate on another level. Their approach is silent instead of the tantrum-based ruckus their northern counterparts adopt. Pickpocketing is big business in crowded areas, as a store camera in India caught this incident as it was taking place. The woman standing in front of the counter in a crowded store sneakily snuck her sticky pickpocketing fingers into the bag of the woman next to her, who seemed to be busy talking to the employee. Unaware that she was a victim of smooth hands, she was robbed by the sly little thief next to her. Rubbing salt into the clueless lady's wound, the dirty little thief also paid for her grocery with the stolen wallet. What a sneaky operation to get away with. Number 13, a failed runaway. Running away from your problems might seem attractive sometimes, but they always land you in bigger ones. This woman was only just suspected of theft, but when the officer arrived and tried to talk to her about it, she bolted for the exit. As she realized she had lost the game, she did not even pretend to act confused. This woman made a run for it, but this marathon ended rather embarrassingly for the woman, but hilariously for us, as she slammed straight into a pole. That did the trick of impeding her fast progress, giving the officer plenty of time to arrest the groggy thief and cuff her. Thus ended her self-aborted attempt at committing a crime, as she landed behind bars in a panicked and groggy heap. Some people are just not made that way. Number 14, absconders. This pair was much faster on their feet and quicker with their reflexes. They were caught leaving a store with unpaid merchandise and just managed to escape before the cops could get there. The two were spotted by an officer on a bike who managed to stop their vehicle. Soon, the two were surrounded by cops as more officers had arrived. They were told to step out of their vehicle, and the unpaid merchandise was safely returned to the store owner, but the police weren't ready to give a free pass to the two failed little thieves who were rightfully arrested for grand theft as well as other charges. Number 15, a stubborn little liar. This woman was caught while shoplifting, and when she was handcuffed, she started to argue with the authorities. The prima donna demanded to be released and insisted that she was innocent instead of a confession. The officers investigating got lots of proof of her stealth mission and demands, but did not receive any cooperation. She demanded to be released, demanded to be treated like a lady. Instead, the officers just handcuffed her and stopped listening to her excuses. Number 16, you reap what you sow. It's second nature for thieves to steal and then lie about it, though it seems pretty counterproductive in real life. This lady followed standard operating procedure for thieves when she was caught shoplifting. She refused to confess or cooperate with the police officers in any way. Eventually, the continuous back and forth became quite tiresome. The officers had to follow their own SOP as they put her in cuffs. The officers escorted the woman out and led her into the cruiser, where she started complaining and crying. But that wasn't going to get her out of the trouble she had landed herself in. They say you reap what you sow, and this lady was definitely getting what she deserved. Number 17. Miss Sneaky Failure. This lady had the gall to load her bag full of items and walk out of the store with her hands full. She should have counted her blessings and celebrated her clean getaway. But of course not, that stuff is for losers. So she waltzed into the store again and started stuffing more goodies into her bags when she was caught by staff. Of course, the cops showed up next, who proceeded to check her vehicle. The stolen merchandise, worth $450.66, was recovered from her car, resulting in her arrest and a jail trip. Number 18. Couple's Day Out. A couple on a date decided to spice it up with some hide and seek with the police. What could be better than stealing sunglasses from a store and running off with it? The cops who arrived at the report didn't take it as the joke it was meant to be and started a couple hunt for the culprits. The sharp couple had decided to split up and flee in opposite directions until they could find a safe spot. There could be no safety with the police breathing down their necks. Soon, the woman was caught and tackled to the ground. The man tried to desperately flee, not willing to share the same fate as his partner, but he couldn't escape the long arm of the law. He didn't run for long, as two police officers sprang on him, ending his escape. Number 19. Sisters on a Mission. And these two sisters thought they could pull a self-checkout scam like so many others, but got caught in the act. When the cops arrived, they did what cops do and arrested her, charging her for the theft. When the cops turned their attention to her partner in crime, she decided to lie about her identity to the police by giving them a false name. When she was informed she had committed a crime by misguiding the officers, she made matters even worse. When the officers tried to take her into custody, she started crying and fighting them off. Resisting arrest is not received kindly by the police. No amount of kicking and screaming can help once they decide to cuff you, and that's one lesson this girl learned the hard way. Number 20. Gender balance. Now that you've seen a countdown of Karens caught thieving, let's see if the Kens do it better. These two guys were spotted by Walmart employees as they took two duffel bags out of their packaging and started stuffing them with items from the store. Obviously, they weren't assistants to Santa Claus and were planning on an early Christmas with a little shoplifting. While one goon was the designated lookout, the other was the lifter. The officer watched and waited by the door as the two men paid for a Halloween costume and carried the loot outside without paying for it. The guys were immediately caught by the cops, who knew how to handle such criminals. So what do you think? Did the Karens do a better job of thieving, or the Kens? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.